Broads Media.
Well, I definitely don't feel much better today. This sucks. I hate it. What I don't hate is you. That's right. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button as well. And you can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all your podcasting platforms and type in Sports Talk with Broads, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Take me on the road with you. There's nothing better sounding than this voice, am I right? Okay, and lastly, Coffee with Broads, Monday and Thursday. Coffee with Broads live streams are back in action, 11 a.m. How you get access is you join the membership community here at Broads Media, $4.99 a month. The information's down below in the description, and you also get the link to our Discord channel as well, where we get to communicate all day long throughout stuff breaking. So it's all good, man. I love it. Thank you guys all so much, and enjoy me screaming and losing my mind. I still can't believe what happened. Jalen Brunson scored 47 of 97. 47 of 97. The rest of the squad had 50. That's how math works. It's absurd. And they have impact players that do things when scoring isn't their night. Josh Hart can't buy a bucket to save his life. And you know what happens? He snags 5-0 boards and has 17 rebounds total. Show me a Sixers player that might be off base shooting the rock, but still knows how to change the game and have an influence on the outcome positively. I'll give you an example of 7 guys who suck and impact the game negatively. But show me an example of a teammate helping Joel Embiid. I heard the narrative all day long. Joel can't score in the fourth quarter. Joel can't rebound in the fourth quarter. Joel Embiid isn't good, and you'll never win with Joel Embiid. It's time to look at Joel Embiid. I'm not there. I'm not there. I'm not there. I'm going to tell you how I feel. Because Joel Embiid is averaging 35 points per game in the playoffs. Last year, he averaged 23. The year before, he averaged 23. The year before that, I think it was around 28, but don't quote me on it. My point is, if you're blaming a man who scores 35 points and I'll tell you what, for a big man, it's not what I love, but I'm not just going to throw away context. He's got one leg, one eye, and he's not the best rebounder in general. Then factor in the fact that he's dealing with what he's dealing with physically. And if you can't deal with 35 and 9, and that's where you're putting the blame, I think that's stupid. That's my personal opinion. Because while I would love to have more in the fourth from Joel, you crumble to a nothing when he goes to the bench. So when the coach has to keep him out there and he plays 45 minutes of 48 minutes of action with the man that's recovering from surgery, that's what it's supposed to look like. And blame should go to Maxey, because the point of Maxey is when Joel Embiid hits the bench, I need the offense to make sense. Their offense is disgusting and non-existent. It's a 0. It's a nothing. Their offense is nothing when Embiid goes to the bench. Maxey's supposed to be the 2 guy. Maxey isn't ready yet to be the 2 guy. And that's been my biggest fear this whole entire time, is we have 2 stars. One is a superstar now. The other one is a superstar of the future. Their timelines don't match up. And that's what sucks. And if you say, well, Joel Embiid's always injured, so you can't use that as an excuse, Joel Embiid is not why you're down in this series. If you watch the 4 games and you see that they're down 3-1, and your takeaway is Joel Embiid's holding this team back, I think you're clueless. That's my honest opinion. I think you're clueless. You'd be down 20 points heading into the fourth quarter if it wasn't for Joel Embiid. You're not even in a position to bitch about Joel Embiid if Joel Embiid is not giving you what he's giving you through 3 quarters of action. You could win with this broken down version of injured Embiid if you just had competence around him. The same people that hate Joel and claim his time is over here would probably sign up for Jalen Brunson in a heartbeat because they consider him a dog for what he did in Game 4. And he sure was. He sucked in Game 1. He sucked in Game 2. And he won because Josh Hart drains 4 threes. They won because, well, the referees got not involved. I was going to say involved at the end of Game 2. They didn't get involved. That was the problem. But he wasn't good. So why are the Knicks winning games when their top-tier guy stinks and can't shoot the ball to save his life when he can't shoot and when he can't score and his field goal percentage is super inefficient? Why do the Knicks win? Because they have competent play. OG, Precious. Precious plays 20 minutes. He's plus 11 and has 4 blocks. Buddy Hield is getting a DNP coach's decision. That's the difference. Tobias Harris gives you 7 points, 8 points. He's making a fortune, which then limits your roster. And that's where we have a problem. That's the real problem. That's not making excuses for Embiid. Can he be better during certain possessions? Absolutely. But is it his fault that he has to do literally everything? I'm totally on board with holding a superstar of an NBA team accountable. I really am. But where we've gotten to with Joel Embiid, you're just reaching irrational levels. Where just because they're failing constantly, it's lazy to just point the finger at him. You really have to look at this. Kyle Lowry is 38 years old. This dude's playing 40 minutes a night because the roster stinks. That was never supposed to be the plan. But you have to lean that way because Maxi's not ready to be a dominant ball-heavy guy in the postseason. Because every inch matters, and you have to learn how to do it. And Kyle Lowry has done it. But in what world is the team that's rocking a 38-year-old Kyle Lowry for 40 minutes of run going to be an advantage to succeed? No excuse for the final 5 minutes to be 0 field goals. No excuse. That falls on Nick Nurse. For the team looking so unprepared, that falls on Nick. And shame on me for believing that Nick Nurse and his tactician ways would change this series. I saw really underwhelming stuff out of him. There were a few things that happened, but I thought he'd be making more game-changing adjustments throughout the series. So before the series, or before the season, I was a big NBA head coaches don't mean that much. Then I bought into Nick Nurse, but now that I'm watching Nick Nurse in the playoffs, I go back to, I don't know how much they actually change things. Because if this is supposed to be one of the best to do it, and this is supposed to be one of the best in today's game, and this is supposed to be a significant upgrade from Doc Rivers, either your personnel is that shit, which, hey, I'm still open to having that conversation, or the head coach doesn't make as much of an impact as you would like. So, yes, I like when he closes a game out with Batum instead of Tobias. I like sitting Buddy Hield and going to campaign. But I need more than that. I was told tactician. Hear me out. When you attack the glass, like Tom Thibodeau attacks the glass, sending 4 guys to the offensive rim, you do give up fast breaks. You do give up getting back in transition, right? Because you're storming the court. Why can't we take advantage of that? Is there a way to? Or once again, does it go back to lack of talent? You're not athletic. So when Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson and OG and Precious, when they're all attacking, you're just too slow to do anything? Well, at that point, it goes back to you need competent play. You need competent play. As much as this is a star-driven league, you do need pieces surrounding your stars. Jalen Brunson wouldn't have won game 1 or 2 without it. Embiid needs it. Trust me, if Joel Embiid was the top of my blame list, I would go full throttle into screaming, it needs to change. Now, where does Daryl Morey fall on this? It's a fair question. Where this organization really screwed up, though, it goes back to Tobias Harris. That Tobias Harris deal over the years screwed everything up. It locked you into a certain roster, and it pretty much puts a cap on what you can do with your bench, and it's a shame. But over the last few years, you tried certain things, and I don't want to relive the whole drama of Ben and trading him for James Harden, which I still don't mind the idea of doing that whatsoever, but it didn't pan out, and now this and now that. And speaking of Daryl Morey, all right, Kyle Neubeck put up a piece on PHLY, and I want to read you what he put, and I find it fascinating. So, his point is, the Knicks went in and traded for OG at the deadline to go for it, while the Sixers played the long game. Because Daryl Morey has been pretty open about getting Tobias Harris off the books, targeting another star. So not claiming that this is a punt year, but leaving it up to interpretation that our eyes are set on more than just this season because we know what's capable when we can start opening up our checkbooks and finding talent elsewhere. What sucks is this free agency class blows. It blows. So put that into the equation too. But here's what he said in his post. Choose whatever language you want, but Philadelphia opted for something like a gap year from this season. They passed on a big acquisition with an eye on the major flexibility for the summer of 2024 and potentially a max slot to sign a free agent or make a major splash, with the side effect of seeing what an Embiid, Maxey, and role players team look like in the playoffs. Once they arrived here, they trusted their role players so little that Embiid had to play 24 consecutive minutes to close a playoff game, something he has never done in his career. In a couple of ways, the Knicks represent the counterpunch to that approach. With the star of their own already in place and a decent collection of picks and young talent to move, they swung for OG at the deadline, which bolstered their team with a two-way player who happened to be one of the most intriguing free agents of this summer. In a series that has largely come down to role players, New York's midseason acquisition was a Game 4 hero. OG played nearly 47 minutes and defended every position, pulling down 14 boards to go with his 16 points. Philadelphia's more conservative approach netted a Buddy Hield, who couldn't get on the floor on Sunday, and Kyle Lowry, who has exceeded expectations after joining via buyout. Another example of the problem. A guard who had expired with Miami, and now you're utilizing him in your offense. So here's what I'd say about Daryl Morey. He's not perfect. I think people think he stinks more than he actually does. He has been dealt one of the craziest hands when stepping into this position. But then, to be fair, once you step into this position, you're accepting the role, so you got to figure things out. But I don't hate attempting James Harden. I don't hate it at all. I don't hate it at all. Now, the way it ended, it got ugly. I'm not telling you it was perfect, but I don't hate the idea without knowing how it ends. But here's where you got to remember context. Joel Embiid right before the trade deadline. We don't know if he's making it to the end or not. So how much do you buy in at the deadline? How much are you willing to give up? How much are you willing to go all in when this dude is about to get meniscus surgery and you have no clue if he's even going to be available for you at the end of the year? That's something that needs to be calculated. And also, getting Buddy Hield, that was graded around league circles as one of the best acquisitions at the deadline. Buddy Hield sucked. That's a Buddy Hield problem. Blaming Daryl Morey for getting one of the best three-point shooters in the game today and him failing miserably is a Buddy Hield problem. Getting Kyle Lowry was a hell of a get by Daryl Morey. The fact that we have to use him as heavily as we do is a problem, and it is a roster problem, but you can only do so much at the deadline. Maxey is supposed to be a force. He's not ready to be that force yet. But a lot of this goes back to him. Because when he goes off the floor, Joel Embiid that is, we need our offense to actually be able to be ran. Isn't that Maxey's job? Isn't that Maxey? Aren't we leaning on Maxey as our number 2 guy when Joel Embiid needs a rest for 2 minutes? We can't even rely on that. And at times, even when Joel Embiid's on the floor, we need it. Because remember, if you listen to the post-game show, the first call I took on the Anytime Hotline said, why is Embiid at the perimeter with his hands on his knees? Because the dude's fried. So why can't someone else cook? The second the ball gets into Embiid's hands, here comes a double team. The ball gets kicked out to Maxey. He's wide open for 3 at around the elbow. Brick. I need you there. And then whatever those passes were between Lowry and Maxey, come on, man. And then Joel Embiid gets the ball. Here we are yelling that Joel Embiid can't do anything. He gets a hot potato with 0.5 seconds left on the shot clock, and he's got to try to air it out. It's a mess. So I just don't agree with the overall sentiment here that Joel Embiid is the problem. Can Joel Embiid be better? Of course. You could point out a billion possessions from Jalen Brunson where he needs to be better, even in a game where he scores 47 points. Not every possession down the floor is going to be eye candy. But if you can't work with 35 and 9, then there's something else wrong. I don't know many guys with one leg and half a face that average 35 points in the playoff. You don't even understand what that is. If you're just pretending that's not a big deal, you don't understand what averaging 35 points per game in the playoffs is. So I want to look up LeBron James in his prime, for example. Back in 2017, LeBron James averaged 34 points per game in the postseason. Joel Embiid's averaging more than that. Granted, he played 22 games total, so it's a lot different than 4. But I'm just giving you some numbers of what LeBron James averaged in his playoffs. 27, 27, 34, 27, 30. It's LeBron James. If you can't live with 35 from Embiid, there's something else wrong with your roster. All right, let's take a listen here of WFAN, which is Sports Talk Radio up in New York. Evan Roberts, Tiki Barber, they took some shots at Philly about their fans and the way that Joel Embiid reacted. We'll get to that as well before we get to your calls, but take a listen.
When the New York Yankees won the World Series in 2009, you did not embarrass them quite like this. But what we witnessed yesterday afternoon in that city, with that sound, with that performance, with the guts and the guile off the court, with the loudness off the court, I think that was as embarrassing a New York versus Philly moment as they've ever experienced, and maybe as proud of a New York Philly moment as we've experienced.
And when you get to the point where Joel Embiid, who just got worked by OG Anunoby in the second half of this game and basically did nothing, especially in the fourth quarter, when he's blaming the fans instead of, I don't know, the refs or I don't know, something else? What he's been blaming all series long? You know that it had an effect. Philly should be embarrassed. I think what we're finding out is that the Philadelphia Eagle fan is very different from the Philadelphia 76er fan. The 70s, I don't know if they're the same people.
Interesting, isn't it? Now, where I disagree with Tiki Barber is Joel Embiid wasn't blaming the fans for the loss by any means. He brought up that it wasn't good. He brought up that that's not okay. And I got no issue with the big fella saying that. Here's where I get angry with the fans that are claiming the reason why Sixers fans were selling their tickets is because they don't believe in the Sixers team. Bullshit. Bullshit. You know why you sold the tickets? Because you can make money. And I got no problem with people making money. The reason I'm going to bring up it's bullshit is because if the Sixers were great, then the tickets would be worth even more. And if the tickets are worth even more, you're still selling them. You're still selling them. The reason why they were sold is not because of the product on the court in a 2-1 series where you just won Game 3 at home. You have a chance to tie it up. There was belief that the team will tie it up. So you thought prior to Game 4 that this puppy was getting tied 2-2 going back to Madison Square Garden. Don't you damn lie to me right now. You felt optimistic after Embiid dropped 50. There was life from campaign. Kelly Oubre did okay. So you were thinking, hey, there's some positivity here. You still would have sold the tickets if there was a good product on the court. You would have got more money. You sold it because you can make money. And that's fine. I got no problem with you making money. You're allowed to make money. But don't tell me that it's because the Sixers stink that you sold them. It's not. It's not. It's not. That's my 2 cents. I don't have an issue at all with Joel Embiid saying it pisses him off that the New York... It should! Isn't it a bigger problem if Embiid goes, whatever. I don't care about our fans anyway. I don't care what happened. I don't care about them. No! He cares. He should care. I'm pissed. You should be pissed. And here's another thing. The owners. See, today's not the day for this. So I'm trying to bottle up this portion of the show, but I can't. Would I rather have John Middleton or Jeffrey Lurie, people who are a part of this city? Yes, I prefer that. Absolutely. Would they allow people to scream, fuck Embiid, fuck Embiid, fuck Embiid, and put New York Knicks jerseys on a Wilt Chamberlain statue? Absolutely not. It would not go down the same way. They would take that personally. Just like the Flyers, when that happened with the Rangers, you had to clean house, you had to get a whole new front office involved, and people who care about the logo. For sure. I prefer a connection with the city. The reason why this team has struggled, though, is not Joshua Harris. They're not my favorite. They're not my favorite. But they're willing to spend money. They're willing to pay superstars. They're willing to bring in coaches. They're willing to fire coaches and pay other coaches. They give you everything from an asset standpoint. Blaming them for going 0 for 10 and not having certain personnel to help out Joel Embiid when this dude can't even take a second to breathe in the second half at all. That's not the bigger issue. It's an issue. But from a strategic basketball sense, that's not an issue. So 2 totally different things. From Knicks fans taking over level, I think they could have something in play here. All right, their business model can be an effect. I acknowledge that. From a you can't score in the final 5 minutes of action and can't buy a field goal in 5 minutes of play? Well, I'm sorry, that's not on owners. That's not on owners. So those are 2 totally different things. You could hate Joshua Harris. I got no problem with you hating Joshua Harris. But what I can't do is pretend like that's why Kelly Oubre is here on a deal, and you're relying on him to be a starter when he's not really a starting player. That's not where we're at here. Now, maybe, we go back and we can play the hindsight stuff. Joshua Harris, Elton Brand, Tobias Harris, starting to connect the dots there. Hey, willing to have that combo. Willing to have that combo. I'm just talking more about the moment now and the struggle in the fourth quarter now. I'm having a hard time drawing the full-on conclusion, but if we peel all the layers back and we play that game where we're talking about the things we've talked about for the last 3, 4, 5 years, then fine. Fine. Whatever. I don't have an issue with what Joel Embiid said. I really don't. If you didn't hear it, I'll play it for you now. Here's Joel Embiid after the game when listening to all the Knicks fans scream at the top of their lungs.
Disappointing. I love our fans. Think it's unfortunate, and I'm not calling them out, but it is disappointing. Obviously, you got a lot of Knicks fans, and they're down the road and never seen it. And I've been here for 10 years. Kind of pisses me off, especially because Philly is considered a sports town. So, they've always shown up, and I don't think that should happen.
So don't make excuses. Don't make excuses. Joel Embiid is right. It's disappointing. It sucks. We are supposed to be a sports town. What you're doing is deflecting. As a city of Philadelphia, you're deflecting and making excuses for why the Knicks did this. We do this to teams nonstop. We're not accustomed to others smacking us around. I agree with Evan Roberts at WFAN. This is arguably one of the most embarrassing moments in Philly sports versus New York history. It's that bad. Maybe one of the most embarrassing moments in Philly sports history, that they're coming into your building and taking over. It sucks. Don't act like we're allowing for this to happen. This is what I think's going on, is the people calling up saying we're not going to go to the game because of X, Y, and Z. What I think that you're trying to make excuses for why it happened. No! The Knicks came in here and smacked you around. No excuses! There's no excuses for this. Don't try and justify it. This is bullshit. And Embiid cares about it. And he should care about it. Because it's home court advantage for a reason. That's how I feel about it. Now, I put up a couple of Twitter polls on Broads Media Twitter, which you can follow at @BroadsMedia_. Here are my 2 Twitter poll questions. Does Embiid's post-game comments about the fans bother you? 70% say no, 30% say yes. Here's the second one. Are you okay with Nick Nurse playing Joel Embiid the entire second half? Yes is at 59%. No is at 41%. I don't mind Nick Nurse doing that. I really don't. I don't mind Nick Nurse playing Joel Embiid because I know how the game ends if you put him on the bench. I've seen it a billion times. The team's minus 80,000 with Embiid on the floor, or off the floor. Yeah, off the floor. Minus 80,000. You're going to get crushed. You might get crushed by asking Embiid to play when he's got 0 left in his tank, but I think you actually have a better chance of winning with him being out there at 0 than you do with somebody else. Paul Reed's not good. Now, maybe Nick Nurse could have done something similar to Tom Thibodeau in this respect. The Knicks got into foul trouble. Third quarter, Hartenstein's picking up a bunch. He has 5. Precious Achiuwa was plus 11 in 20 minutes of play. Didn't make a bucket, okay? He wasn't a world beater. But 20 minutes of play from someone who you kind of expected would fail, if we're being honest. Could have that been Ricky Council? Could it have been KJ Martin? Who would have written in Precious Achiuwa in a game to be plus 11 in 20 minutes with 4 blocks in a game where he doesn't score a bucket in a couple of attempts? He did well enough. He did well enough. Well, what are we doing here? Where's our version of Precious? Is that Ricky Council? I'm just asking the question. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's go to the Anytime Hotline.
Hey, Hunter, my name is Mike. I wanted to call in, just talk to you. I'm a season ticket holder for the Sixers. I'll give you a real good perspective on why New York's taking over the Wells Fargo Center. It has everything to do with the Sixers and the bullshit they put their fans through at the beginning of the season all the way through the season till now. The Sixers fans are starting to lose faith in this process, and that's all it is. That's really all it is. They don't want to come to the games. They'll sell the tickets because they know the Sixers right now aren't going anywhere with what we have in place. With Tobias Harris as a number 3, you get rid of James Harden at the beginning of the season. Season ticket holders pay a lot of money for a product that the Sixers ain't exactly putting out.
Then why have the season tickets? That would be my question. If you are someone that's just going to say, screw it, I hate them anyway, let's get rid of these tickets, I'm not buying into them, then why do you have season tickets? And then I know what the answer is. Well, I don't want to pull out because then eventually they'll be good and I want to keep the season tickets and blah, 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 blah. I'm just not buying it that's why it happened. I think we're looking for excuses on why it happened because we feel so confident that we're this best city in the world and we're the best fans and we're smart and that's why we sold the ticket. No, this is a cringe moment for us. It's a cringe, real smack-in-the-face moment for us, and it sucks, and you just have to take it on the chin. That's my perspective, but I'll let you continue.
I can't tell you how many games that I took my family to this year at $550 a ticket because we have really good seats, and the starting lineup, Embiid's out, Melton's out, Maxi's out. And you got your entire bench on the field, and we're playing the Pelicans on a Friday night, and we're down 35 before the half.
Well, that's an NBA problem. That's an NBA problem. First off, Joel Embiid played until he got injured, right? So once he got injured and he knew he was going to be missing 2 months, that's on the people who have the tickets to realize that Joel Embiid is injured for 2 months. I don't know. But look, there's an NBA problem that people sit, people don't play, people spend all this money, especially the ones that don't have season tickets, that buy 1 game a year. They're so happy to go to this game. They bring a family of 4, and Joel Embiid has load management because it's the second half of a back-to-back. But that's not a Sixers problem. That's an NBA problem. That's just how I see it. But I appreciate your phone call. Thank you very much for reaching out and sharing your opinion on it. I just don't see eye to eye with you. What's next?
Hey, Brody, long-time caller, first-time listener.
What?
I just want to point out that Joel Embiid, the future of this team for the last 31 years, didn't score any points except maybe a couple foul shots in the fourth quarter. Got, no rebounds in this entire series.
None. I saw him get some boards. I see where this is going, though.
At this point in time, is it time to move on from this guy?
No.
I mean, he could go succeed with another team. Probably not. I think Tyrese Maxey is the future of this entire thing. Him and Oubre are actual athletes.
Let me get this straight. You watch the basketball game, and your takeaway is Maxey's the guy. Joel Embiid gives you 50, and then he averages 35 points per game in 4 games, where the series should be 2-2. He's doing it on one leg and one eye. And your takeaway is Kelly Oubre's an athlete, and Tyrese Maxey, who's been very underwhelming as a 2 guy. If he can't be a number 2 right now, how's he going to be a number 1? If he can't handle the attention as a 2, how's he going to handle a number 1? Oubre stinks, by the way. Come on. Oubre stinks. See, I can't deal with this one. I'm sorry. I can't. It hurts. Because I can't rationalize this. But I'll let you continue.
Not to completely take anything away from Joel. He's unbelievable. But I don't think he's unbelievable here.
What? Oh, my God. I think I'm actually going to cry. This is where it's come to. This whole thing. This is where it's come to. I'm going to try one more and hope that we can end on a note that can satisfy me.
Hey, bros. Rowdy Syracuse here. Talking Phils today, but I'm certainly not talking about the Sixers. What a great sweep for the Padres.
I don't care about the Phillies. What's next?
What's up, bro? So this is the morning after, so I'm not even sure if you're gonna hear this, but I'm just pissed the fuck off. It's like, how many years am I gonna sit here and hope that Embiid can just go straight 2016 LeBron and just carry this team to a fucking NBA championship? Like,
Not many people do that.
Like I'm tired of Paul Reed. D-ball Paul is not good. Paul Reed can't catch a bounce pass. Paul Reed is just uncoordinated. Paul Reed is not good, first of all. Let me start there. Second of all, Buddy Hield's a zero. Buddy Hield's a non-factor. We have too many non-factors. That's what it is. We have too many non-factors. When are we going to get a true number 2 scorer? I want a true number 2 scorer. I want a scorer that when Embiid is not on the floor or not playing well, he can pick him up. Tyrese Maxey's not there yet. Not there yet. In the fourth quarter, Tyrese Maxey wasn't being seen. He wasn't there. And I don't know where we go from here. I mean, it kind of is what it is at this point. Oh my God. Go Phillies, go Eagles.
I appreciate the call. I like what you said there. I can get behind what you're saying. And you want to hear the reality of it? You want to know what we had that worked best when Joel Embiid's off the floor, who can maybe settle things down and make something happen and still hold your head above water at times. Wasn't perfect at times. James Harden. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, everybody. Love you guys to death. I appreciate all the love and support, and I'll see you on the next one.